Welcome to this video on the Scramble for Africa. Historian Kettleby wrote that the partition of Africa was an exciting event in modern world history that turned different European nations into rivals for their own interests. Africa was known as the, quote, continent because locals were hostile to foreigners, the climate was unsuitable, and the coastline was rugged. However, the Industrial Revolution in Europe led to a search for new markets and raw materials, making Africa a victim of imperialism. European nations divided the continent, an event known as the Partition of Africa. The main cause of the partition was neo-imperialism, as European nations sought to expand their empires. The Industrial Revolution increased the need for raw materials and new markets. Additionally, the increase in the population of European countries led them to establish new colonies and occupy Africa. The spread of Christianity was another factor. European religious leaders sent missionaries to many countries, making Africa their initial center. Furthermore, the abolition of slavery by England led to secret trade with Africa, sparking the interest of other countries. England was one of the major players, gaining control over vast areas, including the Cape Colony, Natal, and Egypt, where it strengthened its position, partly by acquiring Suez Canal shares. This led to the economic exploitation of Egypt and subsequently Sudan. New trading companies were established in the English-controlled territories. Following England, France became the second major power in Africa. Initially aiming for North Africa, opposition from the English redirected its focus to southern and western Africa. France established control over areas like Somaliland, Tunisia, Senegal, Nigeria, Ivory Coast, and Madagascar. Germany entered the partition later due to its chancellor's initial anti-imperialism stance. However, the Industrial Revolution and population growth forced a policy change, leading to the establishment of colonies like German East Africa and German West Africa. Italy focused on the northern part of Africa, acquiring Eritrea and parts of Somaliland, though failing to conquer Abyssinia. Later, through a treaty in 1912, Italy gained parts of Tripoli, Libya, and Cyrenaica. Belgium entered the scramble when Leopold II sought control over parts of Africa. With Stanley's support, he established the International Congo Association and the Congo Free State. Portugal participated late, but quickly acquired territories like Angola and Mozambique, also known as Portuguese East Africa. The partition of Africa profoundly impacted the continent, Europe, and global history. It marked the birth of open imperialism and led to increased tension and conflict between European nations over their self-interests. Trade and economic exchange between Europe and Africa increased, but Africa also suffered long-term foreign domination, racial discrimination, and economic exploitation of its resources. The occupation of Africa encouraged slavery and the subjugation of its people. European control also promoted the spread of Western civilization, which Africans began to adopt. Crucially, the partition contributed to the outbreak of the First World War due to the existing tensions among European nations over Africa. The Scramble for Africa is considered an event that started a new era in the history of European imperialism. European nations openly exploited Africa for raw materials and established new markets. Competition for political interests and trade turned Africa into a battleground for European conflicts, ultimately laying the foundation for the First World War. Historian Kettleby rightly noted that the plunder of Africa started wars between European nations and set the stage for the First World War, ushering in a new age of imperialism.